So every week we have a team meeting, and we end up chatting about whatever's going on in the business. But equally importantly, we chat about things that might end up on any of our shows. And Carla always has kind of these gold nuggets from outside of whatever my sphere of like media consumption is, that she ends up sharing with us and end up being really interesting discussions on the show. So like one thing that she shared in the past was, and I don't know how I missed this, which was that YouTube was getting the Oscars, if you remember that. But recently she shared something with me that was about Taylor Swift. Now, are you, either of you, Neutrally, Benji, you guys listen to Taylor Swift much at all?
Well, because the girls are with me, and some of them, I have 5 daughters, so not all of them are, but some of them are fans. So naturally, some of her music will pop up. The recent one is Ophelia.
Ophelia,
Is that the name of the album?
The Fate of Ophelia, I think, is the name of the song.
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay. yes. I listened to some of her music.
There you go.
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically. Well, I mean, obviously she's like maybe the biggest artist on the earth, one of the biggest artists on the earth for sure. And there's a bit of drama that's been going on lately that stems from something related to YouTube that I think it illuminates the changing landscape of the industry, but also what individual creators and artists can do that plays into their own strong suits. So hopefully I've hooked you. Let me tell you the story. So there is this article by Abrar Al-Hiti from CNET that's titled, "Here's Why Taylor Swift's Opalite Music Video Isn't on YouTube Yet." So just take that headline at face value really quick. Taylor Swift's Opalite video, so one of the music videos for one of the songs that she made, did not start out on YouTube. Any thoughts about it just from the very beginning?
No, it was on another platform, you're saying?
Well, that's the thing, is that it was on the streaming platforms for music streaming. Now, let me quote from the article. It says, YouTube may still be where many people instinctively go to watch music videos, but when Taylor Swift dropped her video for Opalite on Friday, it was noticeably absent from the platform. In fact, it won't be landing on YouTube until Sunday, 2 days after its release on other streaming platforms. They continue, so why is the Opalite music video only available on Apple Music and Spotify Premium right now?
2 theories here.
Go.
Number one, she has a deal with one of those other platforms to give like a gap between her YouTube audience or anyone being able to go to YouTube for free and listen to it versus listen to it early on these other platforms. So she has a deal. This is something that creators have been offered by other video platforms in the past. Verizon is the really famous one that's not even around.
Go 90.
Secondly, it might have something to do with her commission, that she makes more money on these other platforms, and theoretically the biggest jump in listening might happen other places, right, including Spotify, and maybe she makes more replay, like revenue from that versus whatever YouTube split is when it comes to music. That's my 2 theories.
You're on the scent, but you're off by just a bit, because this is such a weird one, and it actually involves the platforms themselves and not just Taylor Swift. So let me continue. It likely has to do with a disagreement between YouTube and Billboard, which ranks the most popular songs and albums of the week. In December, Billboard shifted its charting methodology so paid and subscription-based streams are weighted even more favorably than ad-supported streams. Billboard started weighing paid streams higher than ad-supported ones in 2018. This most recent shift narrows that ratio from 1 to 3 to 1 to 2.5, putting numbers like platforms like YouTube at more of a disadvantage. Now, I read this and I think that they maybe got this a little bit wrong. I was at least a little bit confused and didn't quite understand what they were saying. So the first thing to note is that what they're saying is that Billboard treats streams from paid platforms more favorably than ones that are free. So if you're watching it on Apple Music or Spotify because you pay for those platforms, right, that counts more for the Billboard Hot 100 charts for Taylor Swift than a YouTube music video stream does on its own. There's more to be said, but I see you making a face and I want to hear what you're thinking.
Something smells a little suspicious to me, because I was going to say maybe it's the algorithm of YouTube that would favor a Taylor Swift song because of, user behavior and the fact that they might tend to listen to more Taylor Swift, like by the numbers, versus on Spotify, maybe not as big of an audience. I mean, YouTube just is a bigger audience, so it could skew it a certain direction. But then also all these other platforms have algorithms too. If you're just doing autoplay and you've got a certain playlist or feel of music, it might suggest it. That's my only thought. But again, what smells suspicious is these platforms making deals with the Billboard people saying, hey, actually our listens are more real, or they represent this desire to listen to it, versus on YouTube it's more about just whatever the algorithm suggests. That may be the argument. And then making a deal with Billboard is like, hey, let's like weigh our listens more for the Billboard. And then in turn, by the way, you didn't even tell me like if there's any kind of answers from the label or Taylor Swift's camp, if they're like, you know what, if that's the case, we're going to delay the YouTube upload because we want the listens to be there if we're going to get on the Billboard 100 list higher.
Yeah, no, and I think that there is something to be said probably about a potential for some sort of contractual thing. But let me keep going because I feel like this article did not do a good job. It just kind of stated these weird ratios, and I think it got backwards or like raised a bunch of red flags for me. So I was like, I have to go deeper. I want to know what actually is going on here. So I went deeper and I found a article by Billboard themselves on December 16th of 2025, so the end of last year, just a couple of months ago. And here's what they said. They said, as part of the change, paid and subscription on-demand streams will continue to be weighted more favorably as compared to ad-supported and on-demand streams, with the ratio between the two tiers narrowing from 1 to 3 to 1 to 2.5 based on an analysis of streaming revenue. Now, this is the same information that CNET article gave us, right? But I'm couching it in the thing that Billboard actually brought up as important, because what they were saying is that the reason we are making this change in the first place is because streaming is way more popular now than it ever was before. And in particular, not only is it more popular, it's making more money than it ever was before. So we need to actually make all streams count more towards the Billboard Hot 100 than they have in the past. So remember, Billboard has been around for decades now at this point. They are firmly rooted in the era where albums were the things that were being sold in actual like record stores or CD shops and things like that. And so originally it was about how many of these records, how many of these albums were actually being sold to consumers. Not how many times things were being played on the radio, not how many times something was streamed, because streaming didn't happen yet, right? How many album sales were going along. So of course, when Napster comes along, when iTunes comes along, when Spotify comes along, when Apple Music comes along, that throws a big monkey wrench into the middle of that idea of measuring album sales. So what they've done is they basically said, we now realize that streaming is so dominant that we're shifting everything. And also, even within streaming, we're actually going to segment out whether you are someone who's watching or listening on a paid streaming service versus someone who's listening on a free streaming service like Pandora or YouTube. Now, what they've done here is they've gone a step further than that. They're not just saying that streaming as a whole is getting bigger. They're also saying that YouTube is also actually contributing more to the pie as well. And so before, it was every 3 views on YouTube counted as 1 stream on Apple Music or Spotify. Wow. Now it's just 2.5 to 1. Now that's still a pretty big delta, right? But that's a pretty big change.
Versus 1.
Versus, wait, say that again?
Yeah, versus 1 listen on those other platforms.
Exactly. So every 2.5 streams, there's 1 listen on another platform. So let me continue, because they go on to say, currently each album consumption unit, which is their sort of made up unit that they use to like chart these things, they say equals 1 album sale. 10 individual tracks sold from an album, or 3,750 ad-supported, or 1,250 paid subscription on-demand official audio and video streams generated by songs from an album. Lots of jargon. Let me just get through the rest. Effective for the Billboard 200 and corresponding genre album consumption charts dated January 17th. That's an important date. January 17th. Everybody remember that. Each album consumption unit will now equal, these are much cleaner numbers, 2,500 ad-supported watches, or 1,000 paid or subscription on-demand watches. So this is all to say, number 1, streaming is getting more popular. Is anybody in this room surprised by that? I would assume not.
Yeah, but like literally streaming your music through Pandora, Spotify. I know I sound old when I say Pandora, versus downloading the song off of iTunes or anywhere, or buying a CD and just listening it from a hard file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even within that, they're saying that we are actually going to give these free streaming platforms even a little bit more credit, and we're going to make it even better for them. So you'd imagine YouTube's pretty happy about that, right? They're like, oh, well, it was 3-1 and now it's 2.5-1. So YouTube's like, great, we're getting more credit for what we're doing. But you have to remember who we're dealing with here. This is YouTube. YouTube is, at this point, they're at the top of their game. I mean, wouldn't you say that's fair to say they're at the top of their game?
Definitely.
They're big and they're proud and they're a little brash and they're like kind of want to stomp on everybody. Like they're almost like gloating to the fact that they're so successful.
I
at this
think
point.
that they're also getting a little bit of not FOMO, but they feel a little bit like entitled to being like a platform that's respected.
Yes.
Academy Awards, Emmys, Grammys, I mean, all the above. They should be considered in the lineup now. So when they're 2.5 versus 1, they might be like, well, what's up with that?
Yeah, shouldn't it be 1-1, right? Yeah. Well, so remember, Billboard made this change on December 16th. Literally 1 day later, they fired up their blog engine, and YouTube doesn't post on their blog all that much. They fired up their blog engine, and Lior Cohen, who is the byline on this, publishes this. They say, YouTube is where billions of fans worldwide connect with music, from official music videos and live streams to channels like NPR Tiny Desk. The incredible work artists do to build a community on YouTube and their massive fan engagement is being undervalued in Billboard's charts. Billboard uses an outdated formula that weights subscription streams higher than ad-supported. This doesn't reflect how fans engage with music today and ignores the massive engagement from fans who don't have a subscription. Streaming is the primary way people experience music, making up 84% of US recorded music revenue. We're simply asking that every stream is counted fairly and equally, whether it's subscription-based or ad-supported, because every fan matters and every play should count. They go on to say, after a decade-long partnership and extensive discussions, they are unwilling to make meaningful changes. Therefore, after, remember that date I asked you to remember, January 16th, our data will no longer be delivered to Billboard or factored into their charts. So they have basically said, F you, Billboard. We're not going to give you any data because you're not going to count us in a one-to-one relationship. And so suddenly this black hole of data appears on all of the music streaming on the internet, because guess what? A lot of music is streamed on YouTube. I remember, and maybe you can tell this story too, Benji, back in the day when Susan Wojcicki was like, we're actually a music app. We're not a video app. We're a music app because so many people listen to music. You have a story about Judy having a viral video because of music on the platform as well. So music is core to YouTube, right?
Yeah. Are you talking about the Beyonce,
or there was like a hairstyle thing, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, I mean so you're going way back. The Beyonce one is our oldest daughter when she was a baby just loved Beyonce's was it Single Ladies? Maybe the Single Ladies, and she would just like perk up to it, and that went viral and got on the news. I think like the Today Show featured it.
I love it.
And then in the very beginning, music videos were so huge that Judy did the hair look of Selena Gomez, Love You Like a Love Song. Use the thumbnail. This is a little bit old school clickbait, strategy. Doesn't work anymore.
Packaging OG.
Yeah, exactly. So she used Selena Gomez, Love You Like a Love Song hairstyle. And then that we're talking 8 to 9 million views, which was huge for us back then. So yeah, for sure. Music. I feel like what MTV used to be for music, YouTube is for music now. And to Susan Wojcicki's credit, it's even bigger than that. It's like become the radio.
100%.
Because it's free.
And the amazing thing about this, right, is like think about the battle between these two companies. Like, why does YouTube even really care all that much? I don't even know necessarily.
Yeah, what's the word for it? I told you it's not FOMO. It's kind of like FOMO, but it's not FOMO. And this is what, like, again, it's a little bit annoying because if you're really the big kid on the block, why does it matter what other people do?
Just go on and do your own thing.
Yeah. In this case, this was funny. This will show that black hole of data. Probably it hurts Billboard. Probably hurts all the artists to a certain degree. So then I guess where does this story go?
Well,
like what happened?
Guess what? If the data stops getting delivered by January 16th and Taylor Swift posts her video at the end of January and the beginning of February, why on earth would she post her stuff to YouTube in this case? Because she's not going to get credit from Billboard, which she cares about.
Yes.
A lot of artists care about.
Yeah.
Why would she post it to YouTube if she can harness her audience who are rabid super fans and will go anywhere to great lengths to watch her stuff when she could go to the platforms where she's going to get credit for it.
Because YouTube is still the ultimate discovery tool for a new audience or an audience that might be not a rabid, like diehard fan that like me, I'm a good example of it. I'm not like looking for Taylor Swift, but because I have daughters who are into that kind of music, if I'm listening to music on YouTube, the algorithm would suggest her new song almost always. Like if there's a new song and you're listening to like a today's hits playlist, it would suggest it versus I'm not going to seek it out.
Yeah.
The discovery. So of all types of audiences, people that don't know her at all or never listen to music, people that casually listen to her stuff, kind of listen when, it's trendy. And then of course the diehards. This was interesting. The diehards might go to Spotify to listen to her music, but guess what they're doing? Also going to YouTube. So the artist misses out on that algorithmic suggestion of listening to her music or watching her music video. You need it. I mean, this is the thing. We're talking about music, right? But still, going back to even farther back, the music video. The number one destination for watching music videos is YouTube. Wouldn't you say, Nucci? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's why she ends up posting it to YouTube just a couple of days later, right? I mean, you have to imagine like 2 days, I think is what they quoted in that article. Like that's not a lot of time. Maybe it's enough to juice it enough to like get it in that 100. They must have run the numbers to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. But like I look at this from two different angles. One is from Taylor's angle and one is from the YouTube Billboard angle. So let's start with the YouTube Billboard one because that's where a lot of the drama happened, right? For them, YouTube has effectively made it go from 3-to-1 to 2.5-to-1 to infinity to 1. You need infinite number of views on YouTube to get any credit on Billboard at all. Now, from Billboard's perspective, they must be looking at this and being like, ooh, how much do we really care about this, right? Like, are we going to capitulate to YouTube and make it 1-to-1 because we're missing all of that data? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, do you have thoughts on that?
I think it's like a 50-50. They kind of feel like they need it real bad. But this is kind of the pretentiousness of the old guard, the old school media, these platforms that really, in the grand scheme of things, does like a young person, like some 18-year-old fan of Taylor Swift really care if she makes it on the Billboard or not?
Probably not.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
They're going wherever she's at. But then when they're on YouTube, they want to watch her music videos. That isn't determining. So for me, I've always been performance and merit, not awards and accolades when it comes to anything in life. I'd rather, I teach taekwondo. I was just thinking about this. We got some new black belts. And they earned the black belt, but now they have to teach class. Mm-hmm. They have to warm up the class. They're getting a respect just because they have the black belt, but guess what? They have to earn it, right? They have to show they actually are a black belt and can lead the class. And it's just interesting observing this because they can only lean on the black belt being the title for so long. So Billboard is that same thing. Great if you make it on there because you work the system or you strategize on getting those numbers. But at the end of the day, I mean, people just care about, is your music good? And if your music is good, wherever people listen to music the most as an artist, that's where you'd want to put your music because that's where you're going to get maximum amount of listens.
And you're getting at the core of the disagreement between these two companies, which is that YouTube is thinking about it in terms of impact, culture, and reach, basically. Bottom line, watch time and view count is sort of what they care about most in this scenario, what they're advocating for when it comes to artists and creators. What Billboard cares about, and remember, this goes back to what they originally were doing, is sales, money, how they're doing it. And so what they're saying is a free view actually counts for less money than it does a paid view. Of course it does, right? That makes a lot of sense. And so for them, it depends on what their priorities are. If they're trying to get really accurate data, is it better for them to have no visibility into YouTube and miss out on that entire set of the economy, the music economy? Or is it better for them to capitulate and make a worse approximation mechanism by counting YouTube 1-to-1 with paid streaming?
That's why I say it's 50-50.
That's why
because
it's 50-50.
I can also see their side of it. Let's take out the assumption that they're pretentious and they feel almost entitled, hey, play our game or whatever. Hey, if we put these rules on you, you just have to accept it. They also don't want you to be the big bad bully, and because they're so massive, skew the numbers,
Yes.
right? Skew, and this hence why they have this 2.5 listens equals 1 listen on like Spotify. I totally understand this. So this is just kind of like a jousting match between the two, Billboard and YouTube, to kind of figure out where's the middle ground. The real question is, who needs who more?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I would say YouTube does not need that more.
Yeah.
Because Taylor Swift uploading her music video to YouTube is showing that. For Billboard to be more representative of the whole picture, they need YouTube, right? Because if they are not, then they're really only, putting people in the pecking order of the top 100 based off of not the full data. And so, yeah, YouTube, I think Billboard, I think this is like a little bit of YouTube flexing its power, will kind of make Billboard capitulate to work by their thing. They're being the big bad bully. YouTube is right now. You know?
They are. And actually, I think that your analysis there sort of nails what the kind of closing thought is here, which is the other perspective, which is Taylor's perspective. In a lot of ways, Taylor kind of decides, not her herself, but like all of the artists and all of the creators on YouTube, right? Now, maybe YouTube does care that Taylor isn't posting her videos there on day one, because guess what? That's a lot of audience that isn't going to YouTube from the beginning. And you and I both know, we talk about this all the time when it comes to vlogs, something fresh has this untouchable value, this sort of unique value that something a little bit stale, even if it's a couple days stale, maybe doesn't, right? And so it's possible that I can imagine YouTube being like, ooh, that was a mistake. Taylor is kind of leading the way and saying, well, I care about the Billboard, so I'm going to kind of gate it from YouTube at the beginning, and then maybe we'll change our mind about it.
I can give you literally the biggest examples in so many other niches that are proving exactly why Taylor did this. Joe Rogan gets paid $100 million to go to Spotify. Guess what? He's back on YouTube and gets a second $100 million. Ninja leaves YouTube completely and goes to, what was that platform that Ninja? Mixer.
Oh, Mixer, yeah.
Gets the back. I think like also $100 million. That's like becoming a common number.
Bank, yeah.
Okay, right? That goes down. Guess what? He goes back to YouTube, right? Like he just knows that's like the first destination. And just so many people. And also just think about traditional media. You have to have, okay, I think this is the greatest example. I think Friends would be better, but I don't know enough about Friends content on YouTube. The Office continues to upload more and more content to YouTube. Now, The Office is famous for being kind of like this bingeable type of series, and people loved it. I remember I ordered Netflix so I could watch Office Unlimited until it moved away and went to where? Peacock, right? Because that was NBC and whatever.
Yep.
But even with them kind of gatekeeping the Office content, guess where you can watch a lot of it? Arguably like enough of it where you don't need Peacock on YouTube.
That's crazy.
The biggest show, the biggest gamer, the biggest podcaster did the same thing as YouTube, as Taylor Swift, which is pick YouTube in spite of all these other opportunities. That is what's crazy about YouTube. It's so massive. We've talked about this, like almost obsessed about this for vlogging, right? And long form content. YouTube's so massive. It's like you've got Earth right here. And then you got the sun. You can't even see like how big it is. That's how big YouTube is, honestly, compared to everywhere else, that it just dwarfs it. So if you're not on YouTube, you're missing out on this unknown discovery of like almost like infinite future listeners, watchers, and just fans of you. And you're limiting your success. Like Taylor Swift is limiting her ability to get more people to listen and watch her music videos.
Yeah, I mean, one way to think about it is that Earth is Taylor in this scenario. Like big, and you should care about it, right? But like YouTube being the sun is like so big that it's kind of like, yeah, maybe we care, but when it becomes a problem, we'll really start thinking about it, and it's not a problem yet.
Because let's just put this into a practical situation. If Taylor is not on YouTube, what does that person listen to other than Taylor? The closest replacement to it. There's not going to be a full replacement to it. There's going to be something else. It's like, this is why consistency as a creator is so important. If you want to get people to listen or watch your stuff, you've got to upload consistently. Because say you're like, you know what? I deserve a break. I'm going to take a month off. Totally fine. But don't go and blame, YouTube's algorithm or saying they're like throttling me or they're not putting my stuff out. Because when you went and took your month off, that person that watches your content, they don't also take a break from YouTube. They keep watching YouTube and they're going to find something else. Nothing against you. They're just like, I still need to be entertained or educated or just want something on in the background. So the algorithm suggests something, the closest thing, not just that's to your content, the thing that that person might actually want to watch even more that they didn't know about because they're so committed as a loyal, right? They're not thinking rationally in that sense. They're just like, I'm so loyal to this person, but that month break can hurt you. I'm not advocating for everybody to never take a break. I'm saying this is when the downside, because YouTube's so massive, they might discover someone else, another channel, another content. And this was crazy. Taylor Swift gets put into that same little camp.
Yeah.
Right? That if
She's just like you.
if her music's not on there, another artist is going to get that listen and that view. And that's dangerous for her because even though it's not, she's going to be able to be fine, right? She won't be that much bigger because she's not on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's the kind of core question, which is that are these viewers, are these listeners going to the platform or are they going to the creator? And I think that it's a different answer for every person, right? And so like some people are going to YouTube and they're seeing Taylor Swift thing and they're like, oh, I love Taylor Swift, I'm going to watch her thing, right? Or maybe like, I kind of like Taylor Swift, I want to watch the thing, right? Or maybe I've never heard of Taylor Swift, but that thumbnail is kind of interesting and it has like 2 million views and I'll click it and I hear the music and now I'm a fan of hers. Or are they saying, I want to go wherever Taylor Swift is? And I think that Taylor in particular has a good following there, but she's also unique. And this is the last thing I wanted to say, which is that Taylor sort of has the experience and has the history and has done the work to create super fans that allow her to make moves like this. Not every artist would be successful if they did this. In fact, it might actually ruin some artists if they chose to use this strategy, right? But because she's built up a following that is rabid, frankly, and just a huge, deep fan base, super fans, they will kind of follow Taylor. I think that many of them are going for Taylor, but there's hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of other people who aren't going there for Taylor. They're going there for the platform.
Let's do a quick vote between the three of us. Maybe even if Carla's listening or watching. Okay, I'll vote first. Are you going for the platform YouTube or are you going for the person, any creator, any channel? 100%. When I go to YouTube, I'm going for the platform and whatever the algorithm suggests, even with long form, neutrally.
Platform.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to say creator, but no, it's not true. It's the platform.
What about Carla? Let's get her feedback in the comments.
Carla, I don't
okay?
know if you're here.
That is crazy, though.
Yeah.
We all probably know actual YouTubers, creators, okay? We're probably fans of certain channels, all three of us. So in that case, 100% went for the platform. That is something that actually tells you why Taylor has to upload to YouTube. Because the algorithm on YouTube is so good that it's just suggesting whatever you need, even if you're looking for something very specific. We actually don't care where it comes from. I think music, probably you're more discerning. Right?
I would say so.
Right?
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, if I found like a great song, and this is, by the way, why I love Pandora. I like when it suggests a certain type of music based off of the niche or the feel of the vibe that I'm trying to go for. So I just have all these playlists and sometimes they'll like put a new artist in front of me and I love it.
Yeah.
And then I'll hit that like button. I'm like, I want more of this. And it's just learning me. In fact, it's kind of the same way that people don't want to leave ChatGPT. That algorithm knows me so well. It's like really slow to suggest new artists, but it does it well enough that I don't even think to use YouTube music, which I also do like too.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't know me as well.
Yeah, and I think that idea of showing up often is the thing that I sort of take away from a creator's perspective, right? Your ability to show up on the platform is what gives the platform the ability to put your content in front of someone else. Like, I think the real answer to your question there, for me personally, is that I often do go to YouTube knowing that the creators that I'm trying to reach will be there. But even if they're not, the platform is good enough to find something else that I might like. And guess what? I often end up becoming super fans of them. And so it kind of guides you through this almost evolutionary process of following whatever your taste is, following whoever's available on the platform. But it does such a good job of that my answer ended up being the platform. And so showing up often as a creator is crucial because it gives you those at bats with the algorithm to be put in front of the audience that you want to be put in front of. And that is a great opportunity to talk about one of our big pushes this year, which is about live content. And in particular, the sponsor of this episode, which is Ecamm Live, the powerful live streaming platform for Mac. Now, they've told us that it's especially good for video podcasters, educators, course creators, business owners doing webinars, workshops, trainings, and really anyone who wants polished video without the idea of overproducing. And you know that we totally believe in that too, because showing up often means that you have to not overproduce and you have to kind of work with what you've got. So any thoughts about how Ecamm has helped you show up often when it comes to content creation?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of take in a different direction today.
Please.
Recently, you sent me an article about what this celebrity said about what businesses need to do to be relevant to their customers, to their audiences, or the people they're trying to connect with. More live events. So this is in-person stuff. Why is that? Because that's the most real, raw connection you could get with another human. The only content that even comes close to that are live streams, because a live stream is in real time. It's happening right now, or at least if you're following the rules, because some people do pre-recorded stuff, but that's a whole nother discussion. And the engagement, right? The chance that you could ask a question and it gets answered by that person that's putting on the live stream is very powerful. Even if you're not the one asking the question, if it's somebody else watching, they might actually ask the same question you want. So that engagement, no edited stuff could ever compare. No pre-recorded stuff. It has to be live. And so this is why I'm doing live streaming. This has always been the case, by the way, since the very beginning. It was just harder to do live streams. What I love about Ecamm, it lets you have professional grade live streams, all the tools that you would want if you're running like a huge production studio in your laptop. Literally, my live streams, by the way, are ran by a laptop and 2 DJI Osmo cameras. But the function that I get through Ecamm is like I was running this studio, a new studio with minimal people. I mean, I could literally run it by myself. I like to have Neutrally run it for me because then I can focus on the cooking, okay? Point is this. It lets you do professional live streams by yourself or with a minimal production, minimal team. And that's why I love Ecamm, because it's the best. It's the fastest, most simplest way to do it. And you can really level it up. And that's what we're using. In fact, I'll be doing a live stream today.
Yeah. If you want to see how it works for yourself, and you can start a free trial at the link in the show notes and use code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Again, go to the show notes. You can see the link there. You can start a free trial just to see what it's like. But if you end up purchasing, you can use that code BenjiTV15 for 15% off your first month. Thank you so much to Ecamm Live for sponsoring this show.